The school failed her, but I would not. When my daughter started high school, she couldn't stop smiling. She picked out her outfits the night before, packed her own lunches, and made me promise to drop her off 2 blocks from the front so she wouldn't look like a baby. I really thought it was going to be a great year for her, and for a while it was. But then, little by little, she changed. Her bright, buzzing energy in the mornings faded. After school, she'd come home with her shoulders tense, her eyes locked to the floor. She started spending more and more time alone in her room. I'd ask about her day, and she'd just mumble, "Fine," before shutting the door. One evening, while gathering laundry, I found her sitting on the floor, clutching a crumpled essay, her face blotchy and red. She didn't even hear me come in. I asked what happened, and she silently handed me the paper. Scrawled across the top in angry red ink were the words, "This is pathetic. Did you even try?" Her English teacher, Mr. Reynolds, had a reputation, the kind of old-school educator everyone just tolerated. He was balding, always in a wrinkled shirt and crooked tie, and known for handing out the lowest grades in the department. But I hadn't realized just how cruel he could be. Apparently, he called her out constantly. If she hesitated while reading aloud, he'd mock her. He nicknamed her Miss Mute in front of the entire class. He said her essays read like Google Translate vomit. Soon, she started waking up with stomach aches and begging to stay home at least once a week. I emailed the school explaining everything. The vice principal replied with a vague, polished promise that they would monitor the situation. Nothing changed, so I scheduled a meeting and went down there myself. Sitting across from the vice principal, I calmly but directly explained what had been happening. I read aloud the cruel comments Mr. Reynolds wrote. She just smiled that rehearsed smile and said, "Mr. Reynolds is a respected educator. Sometimes students can be sensitive to feedback." That was when I knew I would have to handle this myself. I bought my daughter a small audio recorder disguised as a panda keychain. I told her to clip it onto her backpack and record every English class. She was nervous at first, but after another horrible week left her sobbing into her pillow, she agreed. We listened together, her hands trembling. There was no room for misinterpretation. "If you don't want to participate, maybe you should be in special ed," mocking laughter when she mispronounced a word. "I don't know how your parents raised you, but you act like you've never read a book in your life." I didn't bother sending the recordings to the school. Instead, I uploaded the clearest clips to a local parents' Facebook group, adding captions, dates, and context. I tagged members of the school board and sent links to every teacher I could find listed on the district site. It blew up within hours. Parents recognized their children's voices in the background. Private messages flooded in. One mother said her son had been terrified to speak up for months. By the next day, the district released a short statement saying they were reviewing the situation, but the story had already gained traction. A local news station contacted me for an interview. The school board called an emergency meeting for the following week. At that meeting, I stood at the podium with my daughter sitting quietly in the front row. I played a short clip, Mr. Reynolds laughing after telling her she brought the entire class down. When I looked out at the audience, few people were looking at me. They were staring at her. I said, "You let this happen. You ignored the warnings. You didn't believe her. Because she was quiet, because she didn't scream, because she was polite." There wasn't much they could say in response. A few days later, I got an email. Mr. Reynolds had been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. By the end of the month, he had officially retired. My daughter didn't celebrate, but she started reading again. She stopped asking to stay home. And a few weeks later, she joined the drama club, something she had always been too afraid to do.